Kind of a brief update on where we are. This is an ongoing conversation. We've been fortunate to be in dialogue with Oakland Education Association and others, but we wanted the board, kind of per your request, to just have an update about where the conversation is.
Good evening, board members, superintendent, and staff. So what I'm going to offer you this evening is just a high-level overview of the thinking that we have been doing around the concept of mutual matching. And as I've indicated recently, I am doing some overall thinking about human capital management and what it would look like for us to work with the concept of human capital in a very different way within the district. So there is a much broader-based strategy in the process of being developed, and our thinking around mutual matching is an indication of one of the core concepts that we believe in very strongly, and that is that working to maximize the fit or the matching of all individuals with the district is central to positioning our staff to be successful and to thrive. And that could never be more true than in the case of teachers, who we see as an extremely precious human capital resource because, of course, they are serving and working with our children every day. And they are the pivotal people to helping our children grow and learn and fulfill their potential. So what is guiding our thinking around this is a desire to maximize the potential of teachers to find themselves in a situation where they are positioned to be successful. Our current process is fairly linear, fairly impersonal, and I really feel doesn't treat our teachers with the respect that they deserve. And we have been very mindful to take account of some interests that OEA named and called out earlier this year in the spring, and they appear in the yellow ovals on this chart. And connected to those interests are the outcomes that we have identified for any kind of process that we want to pursue to manage the placement of teachers in situations where they're better positioned for success. And those are also listed here as the objectives of a mutual matching process that we would seek to implement. Of course, we want to ensure that every student in our district has a well-qualified, effective teacher in front of them in every classroom. As I've mentioned, we want to have a process that really honors and respects teachers as education professionals, and that recognizes that they are more than their vital statistics, their credentials, and the number of years they've been in the district. They come to the work with passion, with interests, skills, and abilities that make them individuals with an enormous amount to offer to school communities. Our current practice has resulted in consolidated teachers sometimes being received at school sites with less than enthusiasm, which is not a promising way for a teacher to move into a new school community, and it doesn't position teachers to be successful and to thrive. We'd like to have a process that allows school communities and teachers to come together in a way that clearly demonstrates a shared desire to work together and to build on the successes of an existing school community. We'd like to retain our effective teachers. We currently have very little opportunity for teachers who are interested in exploring other opportunities within the district to go through a genuine kind of voluntary transfer process that offers them the chance to find a better fit or to expand and extend their experience in a number of different situations. And what we have experienced due to our current practice is a late declaration of vacancies. So we find ourselves in a situation of not being very competitive in engaging with teachers who are in the marketplace, so to speak, and looking to find a new job, because we have a commitment to place all of our internal teachers, but we are engaging throughout the spring in a long, drawn-out process of assigning teachers who are consolidated to vacancies that trickle in and get declared very late throughout the spring. By the time we engage in external hiring, our options and our choices are much more limited than they should be if we were in the marketplace alongside other school districts a lot earlier in the process. So we are concerned to put something in place that builds trust and understanding and shared responsibility across school sites, central office, and teachers that will allow us to get a much clearer picture much earlier in the process of exactly how many vacancies we will have, and that will open up the opportunity for teachers to move around internally. So you have a slide that represents this graphic. I'm actually going to talk through many parts of a possible process that are depicted here, but this really captures in a nutshell a way that we could pursue a mutual matching process. This is very much still in fluid conversation stage. There are many different ways to do each step of a mutual matching process, and what is presented here are some of the ways that we believe we could make this work in a very viable way to address the context and the situation that we currently have. So I'm going to call out various steps of this process in the upcoming slides. We're calling the possibility of a round one a period of time between March 12th and April 6th, where we would immediately open external hiring for hard-to-staff areas, for example, the ones listed here, based on an analysis of trend data over the last several years that indicates we always have a need for teachers in these particular subject areas. So there is no reason to wait. We need to immediately get into the marketplace and be competitive in recruiting teachers in these particular areas. We would then simultaneously engage in an internal-only hiring match period for most of the credentials areas, and this would involve teachers and site school communities being given the opportunity to learn about each other, and I'll show a little bit more detail about that in a second. And after that opportunity for school communities and teachers to learn about each other, we would do some facilitating matching and then move into a second round. One of the things that we have talked about is that providing a very real opportunity for teachers to engage in a voluntary transfer process would result in additional vacancies being created, because if voluntary transfer teachers are matched and placed in round one, then the positions that they vacate will go into round two placement opportunities. So we could potentially have two very rich rounds of opportunities for teachers either needing to find an assignment or wanting to explore the possibility of alternative assignments, and school communities with anticipated vacancies being able to engage with each other and be in conversation about what might be a good combination. One of the things that we have thought about is providing teachers with the opportunity to create a two-page professional profile that would profile certainly their credentials and their skills, but also interests, experiences, opportunities that they are seeking, chances that they would like to have within our school district to further their experience and their portfolio of offerings. Likewise, we would support schools to create two-page profiles to make as explicit as possible the culture, climate, and conditions at specific schools, to give teachers as much information as possible about the opportunities that exist. We've also talked about the possibility of having a school showcase event, which would provide teachers with the opportunity to get a taste of the school culture, climate and conditions of a large number of schools all at the same time, which would help them to determine which of the schools they would like to visit for a more in-depth exploration of that school. We're proposing that we might be able to offer teachers 5 days of sub-coverage so that they could spend that time visiting school sites that they have a potential interest in, so that they can spend quality time at the school site meeting members of the school community to help them determine if this may be a good opportunity for them. Likewise, we've talked about the possibility of representatives of school communities where there are vacancies having the opportunity to visit teachers at the teacher's home school site to get a sense of the teacher's teaching style and interaction with students. At the end of round one, we would invite all of the teachers in the talent pool to indicate between 5 and 10 choices of schools where they feel that they could thrive and be successful. And we would ask the schools that have vacancies to indicate a list of between 5 and 10 teachers who they would be enthusiastic about welcoming into their school community. Based on those 2 lists, we would then look for matches. And the way we've been having the conversation recently has suggested that a match is a match. So if a teacher has listed a school and that school has listed the teacher, it's a match. So it's quite possible that one teacher may have 2, 3, 4 or more matches. Other teachers and schools may have only 1. We want to maximize the matches, and based on the premise that we're asking schools to list a number of teachers, any one of whom they would be ready to welcome into their school community, and we're asking teachers to list a number of schools, any one of which they'd be happy to work in, our priority would be to maximize the number of matches. So we would look at which teachers had several matches to choose from, which teachers perhaps only have 1, and if a teacher only has 1, we would suggest that that match prevails, and that the teacher that had several match options, that match then is not on their list, and we would look at the other opportunities. In conversation around how this piece might work, we have talked extensively about how seniority would be a factor in conversations. Perhaps, for example, seniority would be used as a tiebreaker in situations where more than one teacher has indicated the same school as a preference. Perhaps seniority could put a certain set of the most senior teachers into a preliminary round 1 for placement, and then we would continue through the rounds. There are a number of different ways that seniority has been in the conversation and will no doubt continue to be in the conversation about how to do this in a way that is most supportive and has the greatest potential to facilitate the maximum number of matches. When looking at how the process might work, we have a deep sense that there will be very few teachers who will not experience a match. But we have been asked the question several times, what if there isn't a match? What if a teacher doesn't match with a school community? What then? So we have done some careful thinking about that, and we have thought about the possibility of offering teachers who might possibly not have a match situation a menu of options. We have been approached by some teachers who have indicated that they would be very interested in having conversations about the possibility of some additional years of service credit being purchased on their behalf, or early retirement possibilities that perhaps could be part of a menu of options. We are very clear about the commitment to work to facilitate a match for every teacher who has a desire to remain in the classroom. And that could include conversations about team teaching and other kinds of supports that would feel appropriate and appealing to teachers if there isn't a clearly indicated match. But I want to reiterate that we do not anticipate there being a large number of non-matches. In order to make this viable and really successful, we are clear that there are some operational pieces that we need to put in place. We have talked about the possibility of providing a cash incentive to teachers to declare early their intent to retire or resign so that we can get clarity around vacancies, to have our entire leadership aligned around the need to communicate clearly on all aspects of this process to ensure that we get clear declaration of vacancies through the budget planning process, the need to provide support to teachers, and very critically, the need to remove any kind of budgeting incentive that might encourage school sites to hire less senior teachers out of a concern that they cost less. So we are committed to having teachers who are in the talent pool impact a school site's budget at the average salary cost as opposed to the actual salary cost.